Welcome back. All right, let us discuss the Washington Capitals and the season that they have had. It has been a roller coaster ride for the Capitals. They were poor through the first quarter of the season. It looked like they were going to get it together and they were playing well, and then it kind of fell off again. So it makes sense that the highest they've been on the power rankings is 8th. The lowest they've been is 25th. That was early in the season. Their current ranking is 16th, and they've been dropping since they were 8th. So the playoff odds have them at 56.3%. That's low. It's lower than both Buffalo and Pittsburgh as well. So in terms of odds, they're really having themselves not a great time of it. So they start the season 5-4-1 through their first 10 games. By the end of the 20 game mark, they're 7-10-3. So they go 2-6-2 from games 11 through 20. It's 14-12-2 after 30 games because then they went 7-2-1 in the next 10 and followed that up by going 7-1-2 over the next 10 to end up 21-13-6, but they've been 5-7 since. So it's been all over the map for the Washington Capitals. I have them as both hopeful and a contender. I mean, they're above the playoff line. That to me says you're a contender. If you're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you are a contender for the Stanley Cup. But hopeful means you're outside the playoffs looking in, and they're close enough that I'm going to put them right on that cusp of hopeful and contender. The MVP has to be Ovi. Ovi, he is their best player. He passes Gordie Howe. He's just marching towards Gretzky's mark. I think in the last game they said at his current scoring pace, it'll be 135 games and he'll pass 99. So Ovechkin, 32 goals, 22 assists for 54 points. He is easily their best player. Kuznetsov, 6 goals, 35 assists, 41 points. Kuznetsov has not had a great year. Overall, it's just there. I mean, maybe there's something there, but for Kuznetsov, it just hasn't been a great year. Strome, 11 goals, 25 assists, 36 points, has earned his place on this roster. He has been very good for them. They brought him in, of course, with Backstrom out, Backstrom back now, and Strome still playing. Sherry, 12 goals, 18 assists, 30 points. I think Connor Sherry's been a dangerous player, and honestly, he'd have more goals. I think he's had opportunities to have more goals. He's prominent. I know with all the recaps that I do, one thing is you get that name ingrained in your brain. Certain guys that you're putting on the board a lot with, just misses on a rush, denied and close, and Sherry's name comes up for me when I look at the Caps logo. Gustafsson has been ridiculous lately. 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points overall. And we'll see what they do at the deadline. This is a really interesting deadline for them. Their tandem, Kemper and Lindgren, have been good. Kemper, I don't think he's been as good for them as he was for Colorado last year, but he's still capable of giving them solid goaltending. And Lindgren's been quite good as a backup. Argued for Charlie Lindgren as a backup when he was owned by Montreal years ago. So, pending UFAs, it is quite the list with Washington. So if you decide you don't like your Capitals, don't worry, there could be a whole brand new team next year. Eller, pending UFA. I can't see him leaving Washington, but it's possible, right? If this team misses the playoffs, you're going to want to get younger. Hathaway, I like Hathaway for what he provides to the Washington Capitals. There's some sandpaper there. One thing I've always said with Hathaway is he gets away with so much out there. Connor Sherry, expiring contract. If they decided to, at the deadline, if things keep trending in the wrong direction, they decide we're going to do a soft sell. Maybe a guy like Sherry ends up being moved out. There are too many forwards when everybody's healthy. We've seen a lot of talk about who's healthy scratch tonight. Oh, it's Mantha. Oh, it's Strome. It's this. They have too many forwards. So odds are one gets moved at the deadline. Maybe it's Sherry. Maybe it's Johansson. Johansson's on an expiring contract. Obe Kubel, who they picked up on waivers. Milano comes in on a tryout, earns himself a job eventually. I feel bad for Milano, and I keep hearing this from others as well. Milano has proven he belongs in the National Hockey League, but for whatever reason, the Ducks didn't decide to bring him back. I know people will point to his qualifying offer, but it's not like the Ducks didn't have cap space, and it's not like Milano didn't have chemistry with players on the Ducks. And so it would be a shame if Milano ends up having to go through it all over again this summer, but he could. Orlov on the blue line, I don't see a reason that he won't be back with the Caps next year. Jensen's probably on his way out. Van Riemsdyk maybe as well, and Gustafsson, his value right now would be really high. It may be too tempting not to make a move with Gustafsson, depending on where they're at. And that's really the key thing. If they're still, right on the cusp of maybe being in, maybe being out, you can't sell. You can't sell guys. You'd have to do some kind of a soft sell where you move a guy out but you bring somebody else in and that kind of thing. Irwin, also on an expiring contract. And then when you look on LTIR, you've got Connor Brown, who just barely played for them before his season-ending injury. And you've got Hagelin, who, of course, has had injury issues for years now. And both of them on expiring deals. So, again, the Capitals could look quite different next year, or some of these guys may get extended. This list may drop between now and the end of the season, and especially going towards the summer. But they're an interesting team in that I'm not sure which Capitals are real. The one that wins the 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, or the one that struggles in other 10-game segments of the season. So, do they make the playoffs? Do they not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And yes, this was recorded before the Tuesday game at Columbus. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.